If you're stuck in this place where you're not accepting where you are, who you are, you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot.
We are in our early 40s and have left our careers, our home, everything behind, and we are starting from scratch. We were part of a family farm doing everything we thought would make us successful and happy, and we were miserable. We started to use unhealthy coping mechanisms. It just brought us further and further down into depression, anxiety, and crumbling marriage. My motto is follow the white rabbit. Live the life you actually want to live.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, let's get it started. Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm your host today, and in our studio, we have Kylie and Jake Rieke. How are you guys today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very good.
Fantastic. I am fantastic as well. Folks, and welcome again. If you haven't done it, I would be grateful if you'd like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get updates every time we drop a new episode. So without further ado, let's get to it. So Jake and Kylie, you guys are down in Costa Rica hanging out. Our audience would love to know a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do. Kylie, you want to kick this off for us?
Sure. Yes. Thank you for having us. My name is Kylie, and my husband Jake. We've been together for over 20 years. We are currently rebuilding our lives. We are in our early 40s, and we have left our careers and our home and our friends and everything behind, and we are starting from scratch. So it's a very scary time, a very growth-minded time, and there are some days that are very hard and some days that are very fun. Right now, I'm working on building my yoga career, so I have classes in person here in Costa Rica, and I also offer classes online and YouTube. We wrote a book along the way of our journeys, so we have everything sort of like documented, but also with all the steps that we took to get here, so that it can hopefully help other people in their journey too. I am also working on developing some wellness retreats and life coaching. So,
Very nice.
and Jake has a slightly different path.
Yeah. So I don't know, about a few months ago, I really just had to take my own advice and follow what passion was bubbling up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And something that just kept reoccurring for me here in Costa Rica was my passion for specialty coffee and the entire world, or the world of coffee is what I mean by that. But really, so about 3-4 months ago, I partnered with a local resident here in Costa Rica, a Costa Rican who works in coffee roasting, and we are developing some coffee experiences together, a tour of a farm, a tour of his roastery, and then a tasting at his roastery. And I'm also developing my own coffee brand and coffee tasting experiences. So I really have found this passion for introducing really good coffee to people. And I also love making coffee drinks for people as well. So that's my pivot.
That's
So,
your pivot. You know, we skipped over the main part there. I mean, you guys started out, you know, in a ranch, I believe, in Minnesota, and you guys have a story about that. You want to share that with our audience too, just so they can get some of the juicy background and just see
yeah.
what that pivot, you know, really looked like. I mean, it's you know, a lot of people talk about corporate careers and, you know, doing something different or, you know, whatever that is. But I mean, you guys had a legacy business that you walked away from and decided to do something different. So can you go into a little detail about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's also why we do what we do now. So, like, our past really has brought us here. We were part of a family farm. We were the fifth generation. We put about a decade of our lives into this family business, and we hit our early 40s, or a little before 40, realized that we were doing everything we were supposed to do. We were doing everything we thought would make us successful and happy, and we were miserable. And it was taking a toll on our health and our relationship, and our careers really were not going anywhere. We were pretty much laborers.
Mhm.
And we looked at ourselves in the mirror, and we did not like the people that we'd become. We let those roles of being a farmer and a farmer's wife just completely consume us. And it did not align with the people that we were meant to be. It did not align with our dreams or our values.
Mhm.
or really the direction that we really wanted to go. And so instead of being happy, we started to use unhealthy coping mechanisms,
Mhm.
drinking alcohol, eating a lot of junk food, shopping, scrolling, like all the things just to numb the pain, because
Mhm.
we were living a life that, it was privileged. So we were supposed to be happy. And so it was so much guilt that we had the things and we weren't happy. And so we were just trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. And it just brought us further and further down into depression, anxiety, and a crumbling marriage. And so it really brought us to that midlife crisis.
Mhm.
So
Jake, you guys decided to, pivot. You guys, I guess, work together, talk together, identified, what was going on. What was that process that led you to the point where you're finally like, hey, you know what, we're gonna do this differently. What did that look like for you?
I think the seed for me probably was planted, I would say about 5 years or maybe 3 to 5 years before we actually ultimately came up and said we need to make a change. I think the seed started early. I feel like there was this flash of insight where you could just see the direction that things were going.
Mm-hmm.
You could kind of sense the marriage falling apart. You could sense the relationship like drifting apart. You could sense just the tension that was always there.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the initial planting of like, okay. And yet at some point, I think, both of us really needed to wake up, and me in particular too, just and ask myself, what do I want? What do I want out of this relationship, out of this life, out of this existence that we're currently in?
Yeah.
And I think in getting super clear on that question, it really opened up our perspectives more to the route that we needed to take. And for me, it was number one, it was getting healthy, it was exercising, it was backing off on the alcohol, on the screens, on the being. For me, it was being more present with the family
Mm-hmm.
and those types of things that were just really lacking in our lives back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds like, I mean, you each speak about it like independently, but it sounds like you guys must have like a very powerful, method of communication and, being able to, have the tough conversations. I mean, you guys walk away from, $10 million farm, you guys are doing, financially just fine. You can make choices, you can do the things that you want to do. This sounds like a tough conversation to have. How did you guys navigate that, safely? How did you do it in a way that was, productive, that led you to the point where it's just like, hey, we are going to do this thing together, regardless of, whatever else happens. Forgive me if I put words in your mouth.
And honestly, there were times that it wasn't a safe conversation. Like we had to grow through that and learn how to have a better relationship and how to have those conversations. There was a time when it got to a point where we slept in separate bedrooms for a little while because we were growing apart that much. And I mean, it wasn't very long. Like that was kind of the breaking point of our relationship. Like, are we going to continue in this direction, or are we going to come back together? And so I think we also were just able to talk it out. Luckily, actually, Jake has some background in psychology and sociology, and we both, I don't know, we're just able to be calm, I
Right.
think,
Right.
through difficult situations.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I mean, I think for me, it really boiled down to zooming in and taking things frame by frame, like step
Hmm.
by step. I think what happens when people are going through difficult times or whatever it is, they extrapolate out and try to like, it becomes like you imagine the worst case scenario always, and so that's when the overwhelm really becomes to be too much, is when you're like, well, this means, then that means this, and that means this, and this, and then you're extrapolating 17 steps down the road,
Yeah.
when in reality you just need to be zooming in on that day, that moment, that hour, that second, whatever it is, in order to like calm down, not react in such an explosive manner, and really just get through that next moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I know I've certainly guilty of thinking, 20 or 30 steps ahead and, as you said, oh, this means that, that look, that expression, that, whatever it is. And it's always more complex, than I can realize at that moment. So you guys came together and you made a decision. You said, hey, we're going to, now, did you move directly to Costa Rica, or did you guys do something in the interim?
We did do
You said you want to do work for Midwestern folks.
we ended up moving to a nearby town for about a year
Hmm.
because it took so much time to help wrap up the company. Like,
Mm.
so Jake was, even though we didn't have the physical farm, the business itself was still needed to close. And so we lived near to just wrap up our lives. After 40 years, there was a lot to a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
So we actually moved into an apartment and downsized. So that helped our moving situation too for relocating to a new country.
Was this a single family farm, or were there other folks involved?
There was 6 owners in the farm, so it was myself and my wife, Kylie, my parents, and my aunt and uncle.
Okay.
We're all involved in the business, and largely it boiled down to a disagreement as to how best to transition that farm to the next generation, to the next owners. And it was, the business was wrapped up into a C corporation, which made it all very complicated and very difficult
Hmm.
to figure out how to go through that transition. So that it was, I mean, it was both by choice, but also not by choice that we found ourselves in this position where we finally just had to let go
Hmm.
of our past lives. And but it really took a lot of, for us, it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of foresight and a lot of thought and a lot of struggle to get through that whole transition, for sure.
How did you, thinking from a, hey, I have to survive, put food on my table, et cetera, et cetera. What was that process? I mean, obviously you didn't just drop things, and or maybe you did, but obviously, ideally, you didn't just drop things and say, okay, let's figure this out. What was that planning process looking like? And then, actually going from planning to, okay, we're doing this thing, we're taking the next step. And then, did you plan Costa Rica at the same time, or was, moving to the other town more transitional?
Moving to the other town was definitely more transitional, but like the reality is we were just found ourselves at a fork in a road in our
Hmm.
lives, and we're like, all right, well, what do we want our lives to look like? What do we, and we ran through all these different scenarios in our mind, like, oh, we could, go live here for a long time, and then, or we could go to Nashville, was one of the places that we were kind of drawn to, or Boulder, Colorado, like all these interesting places. And then, maybe someday we could consider, life in Costa Rica. And that's when, it just kind of dawned on us, like, wait a second, now that there's really nothing that's preventing us from taking our lives to Costa Rica right now. And so that was basically the seed of that idea.
Hmm.
But no, I mean, I think for me, like when we were going through those hard times of trying to figure out how to transition from our old lives to our new lives, it really did boil down to like day by day, hour by hour, frame by frame.
Yeah.
And like, okay, this is what's on my plate right now. This is the most high priority item. This is what, and just taking things step by step and not catastrophizing in a way that is debilitating, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Hmm.
Yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense. At what point did you had mentioned earlier that you wrote a book. Were you journaling this process along the way with the anticipation of writing the book, or how did that come about? What was the thinking behind that
No, we were literally writing the book actually. Like,
as it was happening?
yeah.
Nice.
When I started, really thought our our journey had, like, come to a conclusion.
Hmm.
I had no idea we were moving to Costa Rica. I had no idea, like, everything that was gonna happen. I thought that just this transition from leaving this life that we thought we were gonna live this for the rest of our lives, like, we thought
Hmm.
this was a permanent thing being on this family farm, and
Yeah.
so, it was really scary, and it was really hard, and so releasing that, we thought was the thing. Like, we thought that was the interesting part, and then so we started writing, and things just kept happening. So every chapter it just seemed like it it came at like the theme of the chapter was just perfect for what we were going through, and it just I don't know, it lined up. and it was very therapeutic for me too. So,
I bet.
yeah.
You got to tell some of the stories. You got to tell. You got to you like throw these like cliffhangers out here. It's just like this thing happened, and just walk. You can't do that.
Let's see. So one of the most memorable anecdotes in the book for me is when it was about halfway through. We had already done a lot of personal development, and so we were really trying to get in a lot of like exercise and really prioritize our health. And it was the middle of winter. It was a blizzard. There was a lot of snow on the ground already, and I was determined to go on a hike at a nearby state park because we're healthy now. So I wanted to do this. And I had such blinders on that I could not see the road ahead. Like I could literally not see how dangerous the road was. And so Jake got in the car very hesitantly with me and drove a few miles to the state
You
park.
supported your wife, Jake. Yes.
Yeah, started driving down the road, and Jake's like grabbing the dashboard, like, what are we doing out here? And I'm like, it's fine, we're gonna go for a hike, everything's fine. And then the car starts like just sliding, and I stop, and it's okay, it's fine. I'm just gonna back up. Nope.
Uh-huh.
So start backing up, and it keeps sliding the same direction. Okay, it's fine. So, all right. So I put it back and drive, and I was going to go really fast and then press the gas, and it just goes shunk, like just the wheels are halfway down into the snow. And
Uh-huh.
we were supposed to pick up our kids from the bus stop in like half an hour, and we were stuck in a blizzard and we didn't know what to do. And it was a really good metaphor for how we found ourselves in this family business. Like it felt like such a good idea at the beginning, and our intentions were so good, and we had blinders on to a lot of red flags. And so, we're driving and we're doing all this stuff that we probably shouldn't have done, and we didn't realize it. And as we're going farther into the snow and sliding, still trying to have those blinders on until all of a sudden thunk and midlife crisis. Like, okay. Like there was a lot of warning signs that we did not take seriously. So
Wow, wow. You just threw like midlife crisis in there in the middle. You just took us on another journey. I just want to state, we don't have that problem in Georgia. Like if it seems like it might possibly potentially snow, they shut everything down. Nobody goes to school, nothing. In
I mean
Jersey,
that's
when
what
I
we
grew up,
should
it
do.
wasn't like that. It's like you guys can walk, you'll be fine. Jake, what was your favorite story that you guys have put together so far?
Oh man, no, I think just living through change and learning to not react or not blow up. I mean, like that was a perfect situation of like, okay, we're stuck in the snow. We've driven down a field road that we were literally driving on top of the snow, and all of a sudden the snow gave way and the car just like sunk in. I mean, it was just a perfect metaphor for like, what problem do we really have at this moment?
Hmm.
We're not sick. We don't have cancer. Like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to get through this. And so when I look back on the past like decade or 15 years or whatever it was, like that is such a good metaphor for all of the decisions that we faced. It was like,
Yeah.
what problem do we really have at this moment? We're okay. We're financially fine. We're going to figure it out. And it really just doesn't help to panic and to think that we're done. So no, I mean, I really love that story. Another story that comes to mind is when just this energy of like of change was just blowing up inside of us. We were just so we had I think we had suppressed ourselves for so long
Hmm.
that like this explosion of like we have to change and become different people exploded out of us. And one of the examples was like we were doing 75 hard for the first time. And if you're familiar with the program, it involves a lot of exercise, a lot of reading of personal development books, of a gallon of water and whatnot. You can Google it. But in the middle of that program, I think I was probably 50 or 60 days in, I had been following my diet so strictly that like I had actually created a nutrient deficiency in my body, and my heart actually started slowing down to like 30 some beats per minute, and my Apple
Wow.
Watch was telling me this. Like, but at any rate, I mean, I switched my diet, and what had happened was I wasn't getting sufficient amount of protein. And
Mhm.
like, that's obvious to 9 people out of 10. Like, yeah, you gotta, especially if you're gonna exercise all day long. Number one, you can't restrict your calories to a point where your body is going to become, to move into starvation mode. And number two, like, you got to make sure that your protein is there in order to supply your heart and your muscles. And so that's obvious to most people, but like, that was just one of those experiences along the way where it's like we were just so ready to change that, like, I couldn't. It just exploded out of us, and that was that 75 hard program for the first time, and it really did open our eyes to what it feels like to live without alcohol, what it feels like to get, a proper amount of sleep, to read personal development books, and like what it actually feels like to live that life.
Mhm.
And previous to that, we had never had such a profound experience as to what these daily tasks can do for you.
Mm, mm,
Does that make
mm.
sense?
It does, it does, it does. What I'm curious about is, you talk about 75 hard, and of course, there's the process that goes along with that. But you guys also talked it from the perspective of, significant change. Your personal development, your health, et cetera. And a lot of times, people, they have, outside coaches or someone else. Did you guys have a coach, or did you guys, just support each other? How did that work? What kept you guys on the wagon, so to speak?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was really that we did it together. Yeah. So we did not have an outside coach at that time, but we supported each other through, and I don't think we would have been able to do it if we would have done it as individuals. Like, it really took the team. And there was we did have friends, we did have family that kind of questioned our
Mhm.
sanity for
Yeah, of
for wanting to
course.
make some of these choices, like, how dare you not eat that birthday cake, or have alcohol when we're camping, or that so as long as we had each other to back up, like, it we were able to get through it, and now we wouldn't have it any other way.
That's beautiful. I love stories where, like, couples are built. Do you guys feel like you're closer together as a result of this journey?
Yes, absolutely.
You say that with such passion.
Yeah. Yeah, did you see it in my eyes too?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's amazing. That's amazing. So we're at the point where we left the farm. You guys started the next leg of your entrepreneurial journey. You want to talk about that?
Well, number one, we found out that it's really hard to start over in a new country. It's
Yeah.
very time consuming,
It's hard to start over
especially.
here.
Exactly. It's hard to start over in any community. Like, that was, I think we had probably rainbow glasses on when we left the US and came to Costa Rica for sure. But like,
Mhm.
you just have to trust yourself, trust your process, trust that you are where you are supposed to be, and keep on going. But no, I mean, the entrepreneurial process for us has been, it's been a battle. It's been tough. But there was just a lot of work getting set up, number one, in a new country, especially with two kids. We've got a 12 and a 14-year-old here in Costa Rica with us, and getting set up in Costa Rica's kind of like a third world country, but it's kind of a first. It's got both sides of the equation, right? It's got
Mhm.
third world going on, it's got first world going on, but it's definitely got its share of bureaucracy, of hoops to jump through, and just of a lot of needless time sucks.
Like standing in line at the DMV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take the
Yes.
line at the DMV and multiply that by 10. I mean, that's Costa Rica, man.
Yeah. In banks, in cell phone stores, in, like, like, everywhere,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
your internet
yeah.
bill, like
There's no doubt
That's
it
painful.
forces you to take a Zen perspective on your time, on your life. Like, if you go down if you go down that and let those feelings of rage or whatever it is, like, consume you, you are screwed. And it
Mhm.
will not, Costa Rica will not repay you with kindness if you approach it with anger or anything like that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But no, I mean, here we are, like, 2 years in. We're coming up on 2 years into the country here,
Mhm.
and I am about 3 or 4 months deep on a pretty significant pivot for me going
Mhm.
into the coffee world, and it's something that I kept on finding myself drawn to the coffee business, the
Hmm.
agronomy of it. I think my background in farming is coming out. Like my passion for just good coffee, my passion for teaching people about this world is all kind of bubbling together and has become like this central point of focus for me. And so that's a part of our journey too. Is like, okay, we just have to trust the process and trust that everything's gonna work out.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Kylie, what was your experience like?
As far as moving to Costa Rica or starting.
Well, yeah, and starting your business,
Yeah.
and I mean, you've got to get client number one.
Right?
You
I
know.
know. Yeah, and the it's scary starting out. Yeah, especially teaching that first yoga class or, putting yourself out there in new studios, and it can be kinda crushing when you don't have a big class, or even, I've had a few times where I haven't had anyone show up for a class, so it's like, being an entrepreneur is it's really hard. You have to be your own cheerleader.
Hmm.
You have to just, yeah, let go of the bad days and then celebrate the good days, really. So I've always loved yoga. I've always, since we started our personal development journey, it really opened my eyes to like how good you can feel. And I just want to share that with everybody. And so I really leaned into it more and more and more until I realized, well, I want to teach this now. So I got my certification, and it's still growing. It's still building.
Hmm.
There's still days that I wish I could just maybe have a data entry job for 8 hours and, like, not have to have all those worries
Hmm.
and, like, self-doubt and things. Like, just
Yeah.
it's a lot of stress, but then there are other days that I remember when I had those data entry jobs, and it felt so meaningless. Like, it just like, I don't wanna feel like a zombie. I don't wanna feel like I'm doing something that a computer can do instead of a human. Like, I wanna use my brain and my creativity, and so it's a lot of ups and downs.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
But probably one of the biggest takeaways for me is like you can't take that stuff personally. Like it's difficult not to take it personally. You know what I mean? Like when
Hmm.
nobody shows up for a yoga class, or like when you give somebody like a cup of coffee that you think is the most amazing coffee in the world, and they like kind of like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah." Like you can't take that stuff personally, but it's not easy. It's not easy
Yeah.
to, and so you really have to kind of disassociate or disconnect, your self worth from what you offer,
Hmm.
and I'm sure just about every entrepreneur has to go through that phase. Like it's just one of those phases that you can't do it. You can't get out the other side without it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those rainbow colored glasses come off.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. One of the things that I'm hearing, kind of as a recurring theme is the idea of surrender. You were challenged, at the farm. You're just like, what, we're giving this up. We're going to, go in the direction that that our hearts are taking us, and then going to Costa Rica. Just like, well, when are we going to do this? You know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's make the step. And getting there, you're starting the businesses, and it's you're doing all these things, and you're I don't know, following your instinct. You're surrendering to whatever it is that drives you, and you say, there's it'll all work out. I mean, what gives you that confidence? Where is that? What is that rooted in? I mean, that's sounds like a learned behavior or craziness. I mean, forgive me. Where does that come from?
I mean, I imagine it comes out of our childhood of always having we know that safety net exists no matter what happens.
Hmm.
But in reality, like I feel like there's always just this huge, like where the dissonance comes from is you're imagining where you think you should be and you are where you are. Like that's where
Hmm.
the dissonance is. And
Yeah.
I think that that's where all of the conflict lies as well, especially the internal conflict is. And so the more focus, the more attention you give to that dissonance, that the harder it makes it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I don't know the exact saying, but there's a saying where, basically Buddha is saying like only suffer from the arrow once, right? Like the arrow hits you wherever it may be. You pull that arrow out and like you don't have to continue suffering
Hmm.
from that same arrow, right? And I think that's where the mental suffering comes from is this imagined disconnect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a thought like that as well. It's just like, it's not worth worrying about tomorrow because whether you worry or don't, whatever's supposed to happen tomorrow is going to happen. You just put out a bunch of energy or didn't. Kylie, what are your thoughts? What is it? What is that gives you that foundation or that grounding that says, hey, you know what, it's going to work out. I'm going to do the thing that I need to do that my heart's telling me to do, no matter what. What is it?
I think it's maybe a combination of things. One is that we were so miserable before that, like, we would, no matter how hard it is, like, we would never go back. Like,
Hmm.
we were there. We were in that dark place, and so we had that motivation. We also, I think the other thing is that we prepare a lot. Like, it wasn't just jump to Costa Rica. Like,
Yeah.
we did a couple years of preparation of all those yoga classes, like, and the yoga certification, and, like, financially we started investing in personally into some real estate, and so
Hmm.
we started, like, building some passive income to help us along.
Nice.
We started, like, we had a few years of just really getting our bodies, like, healthy and our minds healthy and clarity, and we've actually lived in Central America before.
Okay.
We served in the Peace Corps in El Salvador,
Oh,
and
okay.
so it wasn't completely new to us. We knew what we were getting ourselves into.
Mhm.
We did a lot of research of Costa Rica. We did a lot of research around other places in the US. We even considered going to, like, grad school. And so, like, we put a lot of time and effort into this plan. And so, like, you can feel it's easier to rest at peace in, like, that this plan is going to work because we've done all the research. We've done all the, like, what if this, what if that, and we have a few things in our back pocket if things don't work out, and we can pivot if we need to. So,
Preparation. There you go. I love that. I love that. I love that. Jake, a question for you. I've spoken to a number of entrepreneurs. I probably fit in this boat as well. Did what we've done, what we know how to do, for 20 years. And, starting to get that feeling like something we're not fulfilled anymore. Like something else is calling us. What do you recommend? What are the steps that we should take in terms of perhaps assessing and taking steps to change what we're doing, our trajectory?
Yeah. I mean, we do spell a lot of the steps out in the book, and or all of the steps, I should say, that we took. But, like, the first thing that jumps to my mind is really getting quiet and shutting off the outside world. So, like, I think that it's so easy to just live a life full of distraction. And I'm not 100% free of distraction by any means. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. But what happens is that we just get sucked into this hypnosis, this daze. And a lot of that, it just is born out of the constant distraction that we have all day long, the phone,
Hmm.
the television, the email, the text messages, the everything. And there's always an excuse to not think about the tough thoughts. So, like, I think it's a very common theme. Tough thought arises and we suppress it. We say, no, I don't want to think about that right now. I'm going to pull out my phone.
Hmm.
And I think you gotta be okay with whatever that tough thought is and look at it and think about it and spend time on it. And sometimes you don't necessarily see those thoughts until you do shut out the outside world and get quiet. So that's step number one. I think step number one is, like, learn to not shut those things down. Like, look at them, feel it, accept it. It is what it is. Like, you
Hmm.
can't, what I think about a lot of times is we don't get to choose our passions. We don't get to choose our interests. Though they choose us. It's not something that we, consciously say, I'm going to be interested in this now, or, like, this is
Hmm.
going to be my fun thing now. Like, your hobbies kind of pick you. You don't pick your hobbies.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think
interesting.
that's probably step number one.
I like it. I like it. What would you add to that, Kylie?
yeah, exactly. So, and actually,
I
so in
can't
our
use yeah.
yeah, that's it. In our book, we actually sort of summarize our journey into, like, 6 phases, and phase one is contemplate, and it really is exactly what Jake was talking about. It's just, like, quieting that outside world and just getting your mind clear on what you want, and then from there it gets fun. So,
It gets fun from there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. What's the name of your book? You guys, I don't think we've talked about that.
Yeah, A More Brilliant Life.
Okay, and who's it for?
You know what? It is for our past selves. It is for people in their 30s or 40s, or anyone who just feels like super stuck in their career, in their life, in their relationship, and they feel like there's just no way out, and they're going to have to just live with it the rest of their lives. And so it really, because that's how we felt. We felt like we were in this life, and we were really in some really unhealthy bodies.
Mhm.
Jake was obese. I had prediabetes and
Mm.
asthma and acne, and
Oh
we
my
had
goodness.
so many issues going on. And just for anyone who just feels like they can't change, and they're just going to have to just accept where they're at. Like, we want you to know you don't have to accept it. Like, you can grow, you can change. Nothing is permanent.
Love it, love it. And so what do you expect people to do as a result of reading the book?
Well, I am hoping they are inspired to take that next step. It might be little, it might be big, but just to really realize that they are not stuck, and in fact, those handcuffs are self-inflicted, and all they have to do is let go.
Okay, one more question for each of you. So the name of the show is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, and what we always talk about, or the idea that anyone can define winning, whatever that is. The challenge that we often have, especially as entrepreneurs, is maintaining that relentless pursuit. Each of you, give me an answer. What would you recommend to someone in order to encourage them to maintain that relentless pursuit? Kylie, you can go first.
Yeah. Okay. So I may have just been struggling with this morning. Jake can Yeah. You know what? My motto is follow the white rabbit. And it is to always follow your joy, your curiosity, your own intuition, your passion, and not to live the life that someone else expects of you, not to live the life that you think you're supposed to live, but live the life that you actually want to live. And it might be outside the box. It might
Mhm.
be following that rabbit off the path, down the hole to Costa Rica. So, like, everyone's got their own white rabbit. Just follow that white rabbit.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Follow the white rabbit. What do you got for us, Jake?
For me, I just really love this concept of radical acceptance. So, and for me, like it's a relentless pursuit, right? But like if you're stuck in this place where you're not accepting where you are, who you are, your current position, like it's gonna be you're gonna end up shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you're not moving out of that position of I can't accept where I am.
Mhm.
So, and then I mean, in terms of radical acceptance, like it's really just a focus, or it's a matter of focusing in on zooming in on what it is that you need to accept, and looking deeper, and uncovering those layers, and then just taking the next steps. Like, really, like the best advice that I can ever get, because I've gone through depression. I feel like everybody has a period in their life when they've experienced been on the spectrum of some sort of depression. And when
Mhm.
you're on the couch, and you have zero motivation, you can't get up, you just want to sit there and watch TV or movies or whatever it is, like
Mhm.
you just have to zoom in further and further. Okay, what is the next step? And the next step might be sitting up on the couch, grabbing
Mhm.
the remote control. Like, it's really just a matter of just keep moving, and you will get through it. You will get on the other
Mhm.
side of it, and this too shall pass.
Mhm. We had in the army. We had this. Our drill sergeants had this statement of, fairly forward, roughly right. It's just we just keep moving. We just keep moving towards whatever target. And I've always carried that. So I get it. I love that. I love that. Follow the white rabbit. Say it for me one more time. It was
It's either radical acceptance
radical
or
acceptance.
just
Yes,
keep
yes, yes.
moving.
Awesome. If anybody wants to get in touch with you guys, what's the best way to do that?
So our website is brilliantlifejourney.com. We also have a YouTube channel, Brilliant Life Journey, same name.
Mhm.
A couple of different social medias, the same name, Brilliant Life Journey.
Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. 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 Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a good time.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And folks, thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We'll catch you next time.